Timely.
Maybe not go Brandon on this one. Or are we going to do let's go Brandon on this one too?
I don't know.
I thought it was funny.
Oh, I thought it was.
You got a good,
Hey, Jimmy,
you got
good
a
to see you.
good response.
Oh, I heard about it.
Amen.
I read about it. Some news, yeah.
I'm Lil.
But I've heard such nice things about you from Susie.
Isn't she awesome?
Yes, Jimmy. Good to see you.
Yeah. Well, the governmental immunities. How many miles of roads do we have in the county on the hook? We're going to say, yeah, we're.
It's 4.
Okay, thanks.
Is that amazing or what?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting. Appreciate everybody being here today. As we start off today's meeting, we're going to be blessed with our invocation by Reverend Jimmy Keston from Solomon's Porch Foursquare Fellowship, and also our Interfaith Council. So thank you so much for being here. After our invocation, we'll be led by our Pledge of Allegiance by Luke. And anyway, from our Military Officers Association of America. So thank you also for being here. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Iverson and commissioners. It's great to be with you today and on Ironman Week. And yes, you can get downtown through the traffic. And so I thought this would be an interesting way to start. As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friends. That's from Proverbs 27. And this Ironman Week, I thought of not only how athletes inspire and encourage and sharpen each other's skills through competition, but also how you gentlemen and the staff through the county sharpen each other's skills through communication and debate and reasoning through the decisions. And so as iron sharpens iron, each of you sharpen each other through the work that you do and the incredible staff here at the county. And that always makes for better decision making. Let us pray.
Thank you.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we are so grateful that you have placed us in this amazing county, one of the most stunning and beautiful places on the planet, and the scenery is pretty good too. But it is the people that makes Washington County such an incredible place to live, raise our families, and interact with each other. And we are so grateful to be a part of Utah's Dixie. We ask for your blessing upon our commissioners, upon every member of the county staff, department heads, and all employees. May this Ironman weekend be a tremendous blessing to our local businesses. May all the athletes be safe, finish the race without injury or mishap, and may this be one of the greatest events that we've put on in this community. Your blessings upon the work being done today here at this commission. Bless these gentlemen with wisdom to guide us forward in our rapidly changing area. Your blessings on all who come before this body today. We pray this in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
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 Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Frank?
Thank you, Frank. And Frank serves as our planning commissioner chair, and that's a thankless job. So we would like to thank you right now for doing that. That is fantastic. So thank you. Our first item on our agenda is our consent agenda, is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than a request to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is non-debatable.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as follows. Item A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payment for April 20th, 2022 through May 3rd, 2022. B, consideration of regular commission meeting minutes of April 19th, 2022. C, consideration of administrative adjustments real property. D, consideration of administrative adjustments personal property. E, consideration of applications for property tax abatement, of which there are 2. F, consideration of payment plan for settlement of property taxes, of which there are 4. G, consideration of change order for the Avenue Consultants Professional Service Agreement regarding the above Zion CUP on Kolob. H, consideration of closing documents for county acquisition of land for Confluence Park. I, consideration of an agreement between Washington County Sheriff's Office, Purgatory Correctional Facility, and Utah Department of Transportation for inmate work crew. And J, acknowledgement of publication of notice of adoption for ordinance number 2022-1206-0 on Sunday, April 24th, 2022. And that's my motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. And I just looked at this paper that Cheyenne gave me, and I want to read it. It's Frank Luke is a colonel in the U.S. Air Force, retired. Colonel Luke retired from the Air Force in 1983 after 23 years of service, having flown combat sorties in 2 wars. And anyway, thank you for your service. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
He looks like a colonel.
He really does.
Yeah.
He has that air about him.
Can we start just referring to you as Colonel? That'd be okay. No, in all seriousness, thank you so much for your service. And I sat down and didn't see that.
Amazing.
So thank you.
Gladly.
Our first item on our regular agenda is our Employees Longevity Recognition Award. And I'd like to make a motion that we strike that from our agenda because we won't be doing that.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to amend our agenda, striking item 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes.
We'll keep the employees. We'll lose the
Yes,
agenda item.
yeah, we didn't fire the employees. We're just going to celebrate them on another agenda. So now we'd like to have a presentation from our senior games. So Lil, company.
Well, let me just start off by saying thank you. I know this is a busy week. There's a lot going on, and it feels like every week is a busy week, but this one is exceptional. And we had the chance to be over at the Ironman Village this morning and spend some time over there, and it's exciting. It's exciting when we're able to bring the world here and come together. There's just something something unique about that, and we feel very strongly about that ourselves, having that opportunity every October as well. So today I wanted to take just a few minutes. I want to make sure that I answer any questions that you may have, but every year we try to give kind of an accounting to our sponsors, our partners, people that help us out, and we've been able to do that in a variety of different ways with the county. We've mostly worked with our great partner at Greater Zion, but to have the opportunity to share some of the information with the commissioners is an honor, and excited to do that. So I want to give just a really kind of a brief overview of last year, even though it feels like it was 100 years ago, and then share a little bit about what we're looking at this year. And then, like I said, I want to answer any questions that you have, and then we have a gift that we want to share with the county as well. So to start us off, I thought we would just share a few statistics. So Cheyenne, if you want to advance to the first slide there. And as Mark Twain says, there are 3 kinds of lies. There are lies. Gil, is it okay if I say damned lies?
Yeah, that just means something that's held back.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then there are statistics, right? According to Mark Twain. But I do want to share just a few of the numbers for last year's games. And Cheyenne, if you'll advance to the first slide there. I will say that we started off, 2021, of course, followed on the year that we were not able to hold the games. And so we started off with just all this held back excitement. Is that right, Gil? All this held back excitement for people who just really wanted to come and be a part of the event, a part of the games, come back to this community, be a part of the Greater Zion area. And our registration started off with just a record pace, unprecedented. They just kept coming in. They came in early. They came in fast.
They wanted to be here.
They wanted to be here. They really did. After a year off, they really felt that absence, and we did as well. So, Cheyenne, as we went along throughout that year, of course, we heard rumblings of COVID-19. It hadn't disappeared yet. We also were aware that the border between Canada and the United States was closed, and of course, the Delta variant was kind of starting to be talked about. So as all this was coming together, we were still determined to move forward, but knowing that it might look a little different than it has in previous years. And so we did go forward. Cheyenne, if you'll advance there. We fully expected the border to Canada, from Canada to the United States to open up. It had been closed for a long time. They had actually opened it to us, so we were able to go to Canada back in June. We fully expected on the 23rd of August that the border was going to open up. And many of our athletes in Canada felt the same way. They had registered regardless. On August 20th, Homeland Security tweeted that the closure would be extended. And just like that, with just a few thumb taps on a keyboard, we lost about 1,000 Canadian athletes who had registered to play softball, volleyball, tennis, a variety of different sports. And then, of course, we remember that the Delta variant had kind of a surge right at that same time. So, Cheyenne, if you'll move on to the next one. The ripple effect that happened when Canada didn't open its border, and interestingly enough, they couldn't drive across the border, but they could fly across the border. And so we did have Canadians that came and competed, but a lot of them were not able to. And then what happens also is a lot of teams are made up of mixed Canadians and Americans, and so a lot of the teams that had Canadians on them weren't able to replace those players, and the ripple effects just kind of were felt throughout the event itself. But regardless, we did issue over 1,800 refunds. That's just the nature of what it was. But to still be able to hold the event was exciting. And even with the 1,800 refunds that we did issue, Cheyenne, we still had over 10,000 total athletes. 10,171 is what our total registration was. And we've been over 11,000 before, so it feels like that's the new normal that we're always striving for. But 10,171 was the number in 2014 and 2015, and we were happy with it then, and we were very happy with it this year as well. So we rolled out the changes and we did what we needed to do, and we're still able to go forward with a great event. Even with the travel difficulties, and there were lots of difficulties in traveling, especially internationally, we still hosted 17 countries, nations, territories, including 2 brand new ones this year. The first one, Cheyenne, is Guam. We've never hosted athletes from Guam before, and in 2021 we were able to do that. And then we also were able to host participants from the Republic of Korea, which is South Korea, to those of us who are keeping track. And we even were able to host athletes from our good friends in Russia as well as Ukraine. And I don't know what that's going to look like this year, but looking back on it, it was kind of special to be able to hold an event and host athletes from both Russia and Ukraine last year. So internationally, not as many countries as we normally have, but we still had a good showing with 17 countries that were represented at the games.
Did those athletes from Ukraine and Russia ever play each other? And
I
if
don't,
so,
I
who
don't know
won?
if these two, if this year they played each other, but they've definitely had opportunities to play. We've had volleyball teams that play against each other. Up until a few months ago, they kind of were friends. You know, they kind of were allies.
Probably still are. most of them.
Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, but there's lots of places in Ukraine that speaks Russian. One of our athletes that we rely on as an ambassador, she's very connected with the Russian volleyball team, so I would actually go through a Ukrainian to get to the Russian volleyball team. So, yeah, I mean, and again, like you said, Gil, there are so many people that are just, the political differences don't exist, right? But we'll have to see what happens this year. My guess is that visas are going to be hard for Russians to get, and probably Ukrainians have a lot of things on their mind already. So I don't know what it's going to look like this year from those two countries, but we would invite them and love to have them come. We really do believe in our mission of fostering worldwide peace, health, and friendship, and we feel the only way for that to happen is to get together. So we're looking forward to hopefully hosting both countries once again. Over the 2 weeks of the games, traditionally, our economic impact is pretty significantly impactful. Last year, we had over $20 million of new revenue that flows into the community, into the area, and we're excited and always, proud to be a part of the economic driver that happens here in the community. And that's just a few of the statistics. I can go into more if you want. Any questions about numbers of last year? Anything?
I think you used to say, and we're tight on time, but just one thing. How many different events do you offer?
Yeah, so we offer 34 different sports, and then within those sports, there are various divisions and
Right.
what we call
Mixed
events.
doubles.
Yeah, all
Gotcha.
that kind of stuff. So we have about 80 different events within 34 different sports.
Great.
I will say, just speaking of sports, that last year we did offer 3 brand new sports that had never been offered before. And the first one, surprisingly enough, was rugby. Surprising that we hadn't offered rugby before, right? So anyway, we had a group that came in. They said, we want to do it. I said, no, you're talking touch rugby, right? And I don't think I could have said a more offensive phrase than what I just said. It's not touch rugby. It's full contact. And just a lot of excitement around the sport. So we did register 10 teams. We had 176 total rugby players.
Great.
The East Coast as well as the West Coast were very well represented, and we're anticipating growth this year going forward with rugby. We also had, in addition to rugby, bocce was added for the first time last year, and that was fun. Not quite as much contact as you see in rugby.
Full contact bocce.
Full contact bocce, which results in very little contact.
Overhand.
But it's still
Overhead.
there. It's still there. 89 total registrations there, and then indoor rowing was also added for the first time ever. And again, 89 total registrations there. I will just point out this gentleman here, his name is Dean Smith. He turned 95 this last year, and he set, during our event, a world record for the 1,500-meter row for his age group. And there was quite a bit of media and press that came out of that with the Concept 2, as well as just rowing as a sport. So really exciting, and one of many records that were set during the games themselves. A couple of things I want to just point out that are coming up this year for the 2022 games. This year is our 35th anniversary year, and we're very excited to be celebrating that and looking forward to doing that all year long. And one of the ways that we do that is we're giving away some 35 registration fee waivers, and there's a variety of different ways that athletes can register to win those. But I do want to give you just a very brief update on where we are as far as some of the registration numbers for this year. As of yesterday, when I ran this report, we are sitting now at 4,273 registered athletes versus 4,199 at the same time last year. So registration-wise, we're ahead slightly. But we hope that that'll continue to be the case. And again, remembering that last year was such a unique year with all that pent-up desire to come and be a part. So to be ahead of last year's pace, I think, is significant. Women's softball is ahead of pace as well, 613 versus 599. The next one is men's softball. We have 1,173 versus 893. And not only are we ahead in individual registrations, but we have more teams that have registered than we've ever had before in softball, as well as volleyball. Pickleball is looking great. We have almost 1,000 registered in pickleball, 928 versus 814 a year ago. And then in cowboy action shooting, we're 31 versus 46, so just slightly behind there, but still on par with where we think we ought to be. Same thing with volleyball. We're a little bit behind in individual registrations, but once again, we have a record number of teams that are registered, over 230 volleyball teams that have registered, almost 400 softball teams. So those team numbers always drive the individual numbers, and I think we're going to be in good shape there. Just two more sports real quick. 33 versus 34 was swimming. Last year was the first year that we were able to use the Human Performance Center at Dixie State, and such a beautiful venue. So excited to be able to use it. Looking forward to building a real tradition there. And then track and field, 76 versus 93. But once again, right on track, right on par with where we think that we want to be for the end of the year. And obviously we have more sports, but registration is going well. One of the new things that we're introducing this year is a bike tour, as you just saw there. That's going to be a non-competitive event, but it's just going to be open to athletes as well as their guests. We've got 4 different legs of this bike tour that are available. They're all on the bike walking trails throughout the entire county. Just a great way for our guests to get to know our area. And we're also going to have e-bikes available for rent. So if biking isn't your thing, but you still want to get out and see what's going on, it'll be really accessible to everybody. In addition to that, we're going to have a tailgate party for our athletes and community at the opening ceremonies. If you've been to the opening ceremonies, you know what a beautiful, amazing, wonderful night that is. We just want to add and enhance that and really invite the community to come out and celebrate with us as well. So we'll have a tailgate there available for the athletes and the community. And then this year, for the first year ever, we're going to have what we're calling a friendship festival, which is just going to be a social gathering once again for all of our athletes. The community is invited to come and be a part of that as well. We'll have booths and games and entertainment, all kinds of fun stuff that's going to be going on at the Dixie Center during 6 nights of the 2-week event, and we're really looking forward to that as well. And then the last thing that I'll just share with you, unless there are other questions, is a thank you. We can't do it without partners and without people that are willing to step up and help out. And that goes from the athletes to the volunteers to the sponsors to the community, the county workers, city workers. Everybody working together is what makes this thing happen. And we just couldn't do it without. So we do have just a small token of our appreciation that we'd like to share with you.
Fantastic. No, thank you. Come down. And the athletes aren't too rowdy. They're
Pretty well behaved for the most part, right?
It doesn't look proper if I'm holding this or Adam's holding this. That's beautiful. That looks like one of my favorite marbles.
Well, again, we just want to express our appreciation. Any questions I can answer for you? You know how to get a hold of us if you have questions. So.
Love the person in the picture. It's
Yeah,
the softball. That's awesome.
fun stuff. Well, thank you once again for your time and best of
Let us
luck
know how
with-
we can help.
Yeah, we definitely will reach out. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We now have a presentation from Southwest Behavioral Health. Logan?
Thank you. The Mark Twain quote is probably fitting for what I'm here to do as well, which is share some more data with you. I know that you're all very familiar with this SHARP survey, and so I won't go into a lot of detail as far as the background. The reason I'm here, though, is because a month ago I presented at our board meeting, and I spent about an hour and a half going through the SHARPS data. And the commissioners that were there asked if I would come to the commissioner meetings and just share kind of a snapshot of that. So I understand that this is going to be just a quick sampling of some of the data, but I wanted to just give you an idea of some of the information that we're looking at to guide our efforts. Again, I know that you're all familiar with a lot of the stuff that we do. And I wanted to also take the opportunity to thank you for all the support that we get. The reason that we have effective prevention services in this area is because of the support we get from our leaders. So we're very appreciative of that. So this survey, just a quick reminder, we do this every other year with students 6th through 12th grade. We do this statewide. In Washington County in 2021, we completed the survey. And so it was almost exactly a year ago today that we finished doing this. So this is the results of that survey. And we had a little over 4,000 students here in Washington County that completed the survey. So I've combined all of their responses together, and I wanted to just show you a quick few highlights from this. We added on a lot of questions about the pandemic to this survey. This is not all of them, but I wanted to just give you a quick overview of a few of them. So we asked students if they were sick with the coronavirus, if as a result of that they had had difficulty with their schoolwork. And what you're looking at here is all of the respondents, 6th through 12th grade combined, and I'm showing you the responses from Washington County compared with the responses from the state of Utah. And you can see, at least with these first two, that we were very similar to what we were seeing statewide. We also asked the students, though, if as a result of the pandemic they were feeling anxious or sad, and if COVID had a negative impact on them. And I thought that this was really telling and interesting data. What I try to point out here is that, first of all, we know that the pandemic and COVID-19 specifically has had an impact on our youth. A lot of them are really struggling with a lot of things, from anxiety about the issue to isolation as a result of lockdowns and being out of school. But one of the things that this data shows is that not all of them are. I mean, almost half of our students, when we said, did COVID have a negative impact on you, said no to that question. So the takeaway there is that half of the students said yes. A lot of them are struggling as a result, but a lot of them aren't. They seem to be very resilient and have moved ahead without any problems. So I wanted to just start and show you that. You've seen, I think all of you have probably seen a version of what I do here when I show the substance use rates for Washington County. I like to go back and give you a snapshot of what's happening over time. So if we go all the way back to 2007, you're looking at the top 5 most abused substances in Washington County in 2007. Sorry, this is the Southwest 5 counties combined. So you're looking at 6th through 12th graders. If I were just show you 12th grade data, you'd be looking at numbers that were a little bit higher. If it was just 6th graders, they would be lower. This is the average. You can see that in 2007, alcohol was the most used drug. Marijuana and inhalants were all the way down there at the very end, only about 2% of kids using them. As we flash forward, you'll see that going to 2011, cannabis or marijuana moved over there into the number 2 spot. So in that time period, we saw almost a doubling of the number of students who reported using cannabis on a regular basis. And you'll also see that I added electronic cigarettes onto the end because we were starting to hear about those being sold and purchased by kids in southern Utah. Flash forward to 2015, and you'll see that cannabis use continues to go up, and our electronic cigarettes go over there into the number 1 spot. That was a 340% increase in the number of kids reporting using an electronic cigarette on a regular basis. And then you go to 2019, electronic cigarette use luckily had started to level out. We continue to see an increase in cannabis use, and we were a little bit nervous in 2019 that we were going to start to see alcohol creep up, because a lot of the regulations that we have in place that we know impact youth alcohol consumption were changing or getting rid of, and so we were worried about the impact that that could have on alcohol use rates. So now if I go to 2021, this is our most current data, you'll see that we did in fact see a slight increase in the number of students who reported using alcohol, and we're also seeing an increase in the number of students using inhalants. The numbers are still low. We're still looking at only about 2%. But we are seeing an increase. So now I want to just show you Washington County. So the next slide is the exact same thing, but instead of the 5 counties, you're just looking at Washington. Almost everything is the exact same. The only real difference compared to our other counties in Southwest is that inhalant use is over here in the number 4 spot. In all of those areas, we're seeing that go up, but in Washington County, it's gone up enough that it's over there in the number 3 spot. And of course, alcohol and traditional combustible cigarettes, we have seen an increase of. Not more than our neighboring counties, but that's something that we're concerned about. So really quickly, what I wanted to do is just show you some quick, more detailed stats on some of these substances. So this next slide is just giving you a comparison with Washington County for our 2021 data for all of these substances. And like I mentioned, we're concerned about how high some of these rates are. We're particularly concerned about this continued increase in cannabis and the fact that we have slightly higher use rates here in Washington County as compared to others. The next slide is going to show you alcohol. And I just wanted to break this down so you could see the individual grades. And what you'll notice here is a trend that we're seeing with a lot of the data points that we're watching, and that's that the increases are among our younger students. Typically, we see students be more likely to use substances as they get older, and that's what you see here. Our 12th graders are far more likely to be consuming alcohol than our 6th graders. But our 6th grade is where we're seeing the sharpest increase of the number of students using. And you'll see the exact same thing with this next one, which is combustible cigarettes. Go ahead to the next slide. Again, our 6th and 8th graders are where we're seeing the sharpest increase in the number of students who are using traditional combustible cigarettes, which for about the past 20 years has been dropping dramatically. And so we're really concerned that all of a sudden, after 20 years, we're seeing an increase in traditional combustible cigarette use. And we think one of the reasons for this is because we have so many kids that are getting addicted to nicotine with an electronic cigarette and then turning to a combustible. So this next slide just gives you some statistics about e-cigarettes. You can see that 70% of kids who are using tobacco are starting with a vaporizer or with an electronic cigarette. It's very rare that kids start with a traditional combustible cigarette. They start with an e-cigarette. It's a lot easier. It's easier to get away with. It's easier to get their hands on. It's easier to consume. It's not going to burn or make them sick the same way that a combustible cigarette does. So we think this is one of the reasons why we're seeing an increase in all of our tobacco use. Kids are getting addicted on electronic cigarettes and then shifting to something else. This next slide is just showing you our e-cigarette rates. As I mentioned, overall, we've seen those level out and even start to come down, especially with some of our older grades. You'll notice this significant decrease in e-cigarette use in 10th grade, and we think one of the reasons for that is because we have implemented a program that we call Clearing the Vapor in the Washington County School District, and we started 3 years ago targeting 10th grade students with that. And so we think that's one of the reasons why we've seen a sharp decrease in use rates among them. It also tells us, though, that we need to be starting earlier because we're seeing increased rates in these younger students. So we're now trying to roll that program out to younger grades in the district. The last one I'll show you with substance use is just cannabis, and I just wanted to point out the same thing, that again with cannabis use, we're seeing an increase in those younger students using that. That's something that we haven't traditionally seen. It's kind of new this year, but our younger students seem to be more vulnerable to substance use. Really quick, I also wanted to share with you some information on mental health, and so I threw in just a couple of data points to illustrate some of the things we're looking at with this. We asked students in the past week if they felt isolated from others. And you can see Washington County's data from 2019, 2021, and then a comparison with the state of Utah for where we're at in 2021. And you'll see that, first of all, we are at or lower than the rates for the entire state of Utah, which is good news. The bad news is that from 2019 to 2021, the percent of kids who told us that they were feeling isolated went up. The next slide shows what students report being the most worried about. And I always find this fascinating, that what students say they are most concerned about is suicide by another student and fellow students using drugs. From year to year, these jump back and forth, but they're always the top two. And I think that's interesting that students are more worried about their peers dying by suicide or using drugs than they are about getting bullied or gang activity or even an active shooter in their school. So I think that's significant to understand that kids worry about those two things. 65% of students met qualifications for moderate depression. It doesn't mean that they have moderate depression that they're experiencing. It just means that based on a series of questions we asked them, a number of them met qualifications that somebody would meet if they were going through a treatment assessment. Similar or related to this, we have some statistics on those that are seriously considering suicide. And you can see that through the years, we're seeing an increase in the number of kids here in Washington County that are seriously considering suicide. And we're also seeing we're also seeing an increase in the number who are purposefully harming themselves. So these are kids who are hurting themselves without the intent to die, so cutting themselves or burning themselves to cause pain, but not to die. And then finally, what I wanted to do is I have just a couple of slides where I wanted to show you some overlays. You've probably seen me talk about the data where we look at how often kids have dinner together with their families and how likely they are to use drugs. And we always see a really interesting correlation. The more kids are having dinner together with a family, the less likely they are to be using drugs. So this time I thought I would do the same thing, but look at it with depression. So what you're seeing here is the percentage of students in Washington County who told us that they felt depressed or sad most days in the past year, and then how many nights they had dinner together as a family. And it's really interesting to note that kids who are having dinner together with their family 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week are far less likely to say that they are feeling depressed or sad past year. Something similar to this other one that I'll show you, is looking at screen time and whether or not they had considered suicide. So this is the percentage of students who told us that they had seriously considered suicide. This is how much time they spent on screens outside of school. And we specifically asked them in this question, how much time do you spend either on social media, video gaming, or on YouTube? And so you'll see, again, a really interesting correlation here. The kids that are spending 3, 4, 5 hours a day outside of school on those devices are much more likely to be seriously considering suicide. And then the very last one that I'll share with you is looking at the same thing, those who considered suicide in the past 12 months and how much sleep they get during the night. And again, you'll see that kids who are getting 7, 8 hours of sleep at night are much less likely to say that they're considering suicide compared to those who are only getting 4 or 5 hours a night. And of course, we know this one's related to the last one as well. If they're spending more time on their devices, they're less likely to be getting sleep, so there's probably a double whammy there. Anyway, I know that was fast. I just throw a whole bunch of numbers at you, but I just wanted to show you, this is a snapshot of some of the data that we're looking at to try to decide what to focus our efforts on. This is how we build all of our prevention programming, and this is what we use for our benchmarks to see if we're being effective. And so I'd like to come back maybe in a couple of months and just show you some of the positive results we're seeing when we compare this to some of the previous year's data with the programs that we're doing. Any questions that you have for me on any of that?
Yeah, Logan, just one on your last slide there about the sleep.
Yeah.
Were there other questions that maybe you could give us some more information on another time as to what was taking up the time? I mean, are there other factors? Yes, my family's fighting all the time, right? I can't sleep because my parents are screaming in the next room or something. The cause of sleep loss as also an indicator of suicidality, or was it pure just not enough hours of sleep?
So on this survey, we do have some questions that we ask that give us more detail on that. We also have some other surveys that we do with students in other venues where we get more specifics on that. And then I can also speak just in general to the research on that, which shows that it's both. Sleep by itself is an independent factor for suicide and one of the most significant. So if you are getting, regardless of any other external factors, if you are getting a healthy amount of sleep, you're less likely to be depressed, you're less likely to be thinking about suicide. We do know from some of the other surveys that we've done with students where we ask them why they aren't getting enough sleep. There are a lot of different responses, including all of those that you mentioned. The number one most common that we get, though, is screen time. They have their phones or a device with them in bed, and they're on those rather than sleeping.
Interesting.
Thank you so much, Logan. Appreciate that.
Yep. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great information. Our next item is consideration of ratification of purchase requests. Ray? Good to see you today.
Hi. Okay, we have 3 to ratify this time. This first one is for the new admin building furniture. We needed to get a PO done and a 50% down payment to start production so we can meet deadlines for the new building. So the total of the new furniture is $1,300,000. $331,782. So we have made a 50% down payment of $665,891, and then we will pay the remaining 50% at a later time.
Very good.
And the next one, also for the new building, same scenario, and this is for the high-density mobile storage. The total amount for this is $288,255. We have made a 50% down payment of $144,127.50, and we'll pay the remaining balance at a later time. The next one, again, for same scenario, this is APC power distribution units and server cabinets for IT. The cost was gonna go up April 29th, so we needed to get a PO done and a payment made. We've paid the full amount in this one before that cost went up. And this is for $15,101.13.
Very good.
Unless there's any questions on those, that's all I have there.
These are the three items that need to be ratified, so.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move that on item 4 that we ratify these 3 purchase orders as.
And I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on item 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 5 is a consideration of our purchase request, right?
Ready?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the first one here is for building maintenance. This is to add a fire suppression system to the office plaza building. This cost includes labor. This is for $10,380. The next couple are for the roads department. This first one is for road base. This is for various projects around the county. This is $24,225. And the next one is for equipment fuel. This is for $50,685.52. The next few are for the sheriff's office. This first one is for 10 replacement patrol trucks and 2 new trucks, so for a total of 12. And they're $51,106 each, for a total of $613,272. Now on these, we were quoted high due to the cost of inflation, but Ford may come down and say they will give us a lower fleet price. So this was the high end, going on the safe side, I guess, if that's how you want to put it. The 2 new trucks are for the 2 new backcountry deputies, by the way. The next one is for the equipment for inside the patrol truck. So there's 10 replacements. They will reuse whatever equipment they can. It is estimated that we will pay $48,169 for new equipment. And then the equipment for the 2 new trucks is the difference there. And that total is $65,951. And then the final one is for a freezer conversion to a walk-in refrigerator for the sheriff's office. The current freezer keeps breaking down and the compressor has now gone bad. So this will cost us $10,425. And unless there's any questions on those, that's all I have.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the purchase requests as explained by Ray.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase request. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ray. Appreciate that. Our next item is a consideration of Public Works report. Ron Whitehead. How's it going?
Good. How about you, gentlemen?
Excellent. Thank you.
Just give you a quick update on what we've been doing and where we're at. You've seen a lot of our projects. Had a chance for the public to see a lot of our projects. We just finished the major parking additions over to the regional park during the fair, and
Thank you.
they look real nice. We'll still be working on those as time goes by a little bit. We've got a contractor that's bringing us in some dirt right now, dumping there, that we'll keep expanding as we go. So they'll keep adding on to that a little bit. Major projects, road department is now focusing on getting out and doing their road prep work, getting everything ordered, and making sure they've got everything lined up and in place. Specifically, they'll be working in Kolob area this year. We've got a road set up to test some new oil we're gonna try. It's over on the Antelope Road off of SR 59. It's a new oil that's significantly less than one of the oils we've been using. Are supposed to do better job with it. We've stopped and looked at some of the oil up in Coahuila County that they've used up there, and still got a couple of questions for them, but feel like it was enough to order this and try at least on one big road that we'll see how it holds up over time. Other areas we'll be working are the roads up in Black Ridge Ranches area, roads in New Harmony area, and got a lot of work up there on roads we're doing. Proposed SID up there we'll be working on. So we've got more road work going on this summer than we have in a long time, and just by happenstance, cost of oil has gone up significantly, so along with everything else. So we're watching our funds really close. We'll still proceed with the work we've got, and if it looks like we're getting close, we'll come in and visit with you and see what your view is on this, but we're still waiting to see if we get funds in from the SFT, SSD. That augments our road funds on specific roads, and we can use that to help us out quite a bit. So we'll see where we're at on that, but we should have enough in there finish even with where we're at now, and if not, we'll come in and look about, talk to you about maybe dipping into the fund balance a little bit if we need to on that. So the last thing, preparation for Ironman, why we've done a UDOT project in conjunction with UDOT. We've contracted it out and finished adding a passing lane up through Winchester Hills area. This will allow the runners to come out of Snow Canyon Park, or the bike riders come down on one side of the highway. We'll still should have a lane open each direction. On the other side will allow traffic to move through.
Good.
So our portion of the work is done. UDOT had a job set up. They were going to come in and do an extra overlay, the full width of the road, including our new part, but that's been pushed back a little bit. They won't do that till possibly September, but just so everybody knows, we're through. If there's other stuff still going up there, that's UDOT and has nothing to do with our project. We're in and out of there, and we made it to our deadline with a few days to spare, so we were out of there before May 1st. So
Yep.
we're pretty happy with the job they've done up there. We appreciate our contractor digging in and helping us out with that. So
I mean, Ron just said that, but I think what the public really has to show is the people who always get beat up on, oh my goodness, another road project, that, you know, everything always, it's never done. We were done early.
Yes.
I mean, that should be celebrated. And as the guy who had to drive through it every day, I really appreciate it.
we were done early, and we fit in a couple of extras that UDOT threw in there at the last moment because they changed their mind because their project was delayed. So they wanted us to finish it up a little better for them, so.
Including hitting the basalt, too. He had unknowns that took extra time, too. Great work and really good job.
I have to admit this. I had hoped they would finish, but I had a lot of doubt. So anyway, they got
did
that
it.
done. So thank you very much, Ron.
I
Appreciate
should
that.
be deeply offended by that. You had
Well,
doubts about
no,
us
but I
doing
didn't
this
express
stuff.
those doubts until you.
I'm just saying, I complimented you and he doubted you. Remember that, Ron.
Thank
Next
you.
time
I
I
will
need something.
remember that. Thank you.
And I'll
Appreciate
pay
your
you.
support. I like that, too. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Well, I believe we need to make a motion on the Public Works report, so we have it on the record.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second on accepting the Public Works report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 7 is consideration of ordinance 2022-1207-0, an ordinance adding a county administrator as a member of the Accident Review Board. Devin Snow?
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chairman. As you know, the County Accident Review Board serves important functions here in the county. Just for the benefit of the public here, the board, anytime there's an accident that involves a county vehicle, the Accident Review Board go through and investigate, determine whether this accident was preventable, and make recommendations about corrective action. So is education necessary? You know, should there be a termination? That kind of a thing. Our county administrator has participated informally with the board for a long time now. This ordinance would make it official and make the county administrator a voting member of this board.
Well, I sit on that board, and so I believe that, one, it's very thorough, it's very fair, and has many good voices, including our administrator, who has a lot to do with our fleets and where they get driven, and has some good advice, and has not been in an accident since the 5th grade.
Very good.
So I move that we accept this as been read in our ordinance number 2022-1207-0.
And I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Items 8, 9, and 10 are very closely related, so I was wondering if we could go ahead and discuss them together and then vote on them separate. Leslie, are you here to represent Brittany? With Iron Man, I don't know where our tourism staff.
They are
that
passing
right now.
out all the credentials.
Exactly, so.
They're running all over the place.
Yeah.
But yes, those 3 items, 2 of those are agreement between the county and St. George City to do add pickleball courts and to convert some grass soccer fields to turf. Saves water, allows play to continue throughout more of the year, and keeps the grass fields, gives them chances to rest, helps all around. And of course, pickleball. Everybody wants pickleball. And this would include a court that has a championship court called, with some stadium seating. Those first 2. The third is between the county and Hurricane City, and it's funds that will go help towards their new equestrian park, rodeo grounds, and other, I think. This helps with some of the bleachers and some of the specific needs along those lines.
Very good. Well, for anybody who may not be familiar with the funding and the process, these are tourism tax dollars that are designated for venues and events, and facilities that enhance tourism, but also can enhance our community and way of life. We have what is known as the Tourism Tax Advisory Board, which is set up under state code, which reviews these applications. In all 3 of these cases, the cities are putting in a major portion of the funding, and the funding that we are putting in is a partnership with them.
The cities are required to fund at least 50% of the project,
Exactly.
and most of the time it's more than 50%.
Exactly.
Very good.
So, taking these one item at a time, item 8 is consideration of resolution Ardash 2022-2940, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County and the City of St. George for TRT funding to expand the Little Valley Pickleball Complex, and I believe the amount on that is $1 million, right?
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 9 is consideration of resolution R-2022-2941, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, Utah and the City of St. George for TRT funding to install artificial turf at the Little Valley Sports Complex. And the amount on that is $1.5 million. And people need to know that this not only saves water, but it also allows a lot more use, consistent use. So,
The estimated 17 million gallons in a year.
oh, that's good.
They also have commented just that the technology for turf has improved greatly over the years too. So it's not for some of us in our youth, it's not the instantly look at it and get a bloody knee type of turf.
Yeah.
So,
Not as hot.
No, I walked on something the other day that I honestly didn't know that it wasn't Kentucky bluegrass for a while until I was like, wait, this isn't. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve resolution number R-2022-2941.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 10 is consideration of resolution R-2022-2942, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between Washington County, Utah and the City of Hurricane for TRT funding for a Hurricane Equestrian Park. And I believe that the amount here was $308,638.50, which is going to help with some bleachers and lights, I believe. So,
mainly, yes.
Right. I move that we approve that resolution.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you so much, Leslie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did a great job for the team there. Item 11 is consideration of resolution R-2022-2948, a resolution appointing a county bee inspector and approving a bee inspector service contract. And so this is my item here. under state code, we need to have a bee inspector, and we have been missing a bee inspector for a little while. So I had the Utah State Department of Ag contact us and visit with us, and we have a great bee inspector that I met with that is serving in Iron County, who's willing to cover Washington County as a part of his contract. And so that's what we have. I would like to make a small amendment to this, which is in the section that is titled Independent Contractor. Item B, it says contractors shall, in accordance with this agreement, be responsible. No, that's not the right part. Where was it, Devin? Oh, it's on the other part. So it's in section 1, scope of services, A2, and it says contractor shall provide and pay for his own transportation travel throughout Washington County. Contractor shall be responsible to provide his own equipment necessary for performing the services under this agreement. I would like to make an amendment to this motion that we allow legal to include may request compensation for mileage from Washington County.
Yeah, we
That'd
can
be
do
proper?
that. Yep.
And then there is a $1,000 a year stipend that is also a part of it. But that would allow Mr. Nay to give us
Right.
a bill for mileage, which is going to be important given the
Appropriate.
cost of gas. And
Well, I move that we approve item number 11, which is Resolution 2020R 2022-2948. And don't laugh, if there weren't bees out there, we would have grains and nuts.
that's true.
That's it. So everything else has to be pollinated some way, and bees and moths and other things that you don't like do it. But the bee population also shows the health of an agricultural complex, and it's important that they keep an eye on it. So
Absolutely.
Commissioner, if you could also include the addition from Mr. Chairman.
I
on
do
the- okay,
include
great.
the addition. Yes. I think eventually we need Stephen Lisenby to be this person.
Yes.
Okay, enough frivolity.
I don't know if, can I second without the Lisenby part?
We need to start over.
Okay.
I'm just kidding, you're good.
A second without the Lisenby.
Very good. We have a motion second on item 11. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 12 is consideration of Resolution R-2022-2949, a resolution approving an agreement with Trails Utah to help fund a new mountain bike trail system in Washington County. Leslie, and I actually have you listed here to speak to this item, so thank you.
Thank you. So this is regarding the $800,000 that the commission generously approved towards this trail system in a previous meeting a month or so ago. Trails Utah is a well-recognized 501c3 within the state, and they're in agreement with the Forest Service to handle the contract for the trail construction. So this particular agreement is to take $219,000 of that $800,000 pay to Trails Utah to administer the approximately first 16 miles of trail construction.
So it's for the actual construction of the trails.
Actual construction.
They're going to be the contractors. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve Resolution R-2022-2949, resolution approving an agreement with Trails Utah to help fund a new mountain bike trail system in Washington County.
Great.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you so much, Leslie. Appreciate
you.
that. Item 13 is consideration of Resolution R-2022-2950, a resolution approving the use of a peace officer basic training reimbursement agreement at the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
And
so-
we have Sheriff Nate Brooksby.
Yeah,
It is
thank
good
you,
to have you here.
Commissioners. Thanks for having me.
Did you sneak in here? Because
I did about 4:30, so.
I saw
I saw that I
Lieutenant
was on the very
Danny
last
Croft here a
items
minute ago, so
on the agenda, so.
very good.
So this isn't a new concept, both in law enforcement, like the medical field. Basically, we are paying for an employee to become corrections certified and then eventually law enforcement certified. That costs the county about $12,000 per session. So this agreement would would help ensure that that employee would be employed with Washington County for 2 years. And if they separate employment after we've paid for their academies, that there would be a reimbursement, a prorated reimbursement. So
Fantastic.
that's the gist of it.
Any questions for good sheriff?
Nope, it is policy, and a lot of them do it as an enticement and plus to get better training. So
Yep.
I move that we approve resolution number R 2022-2950.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 The motion passes. Thank you so much, Sheriff. And item 14 is commission report, and I don't know if anybody needs a reminder, but we have a World Championship Ironman this week, and we have a ceremony at 5:30.
We do, so we'll need to hurry.
And so, whatever you're going to say it fast.
I would just like to remind everybody, we've said this before, but for those in Diamond and Dameron and Gunlock and Veo and most of St. George and Hurricane, all the other places affected, most of the county, unless you live in Tokerville or Virgin maybe, that are affected by the route for running and biking, reminder that this annoyance for one day saves each household in the county roughly $1,400 a year in taxes through tourism dollars. So just always quantify how annoying is it to have to go around a couple blocks. Is it $1,400 annoying or not? And we hope that everybody is.
Don't make that calculation this week. Wait.
Yeah. But we'd also like to remind everybody to be safe, watch out for cyclists and runners as they're training, as they're getting ready, and that this is a good experience and there's no tragedy as we've had in the past.
And I think we'll wait for our great fair report when Susie LaFioli comes back. We've had a successful fair. I thought that was awesome.
Absolutely. It was great. And we just barely had the Dixie Junior Livestock Show over the weekend. And fantastic. Well, with that, we stand adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Happy anniversary.